Hey, 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 what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the Hot Seat. And it is Taylor and myself in the saddle this week. Super excited to be here. As you're coming in, go ahead and click that share button. Let your friends, your neighbors, your relatives, and all your people know that we are live and we're in the hot seat. And we're going to have a dope conversation tonight. So we are welcoming in some different communities, even TikTok is in the building tonight for this dope conversation. So this is going to be awesome. Taylor, what is going on? How are you?
I am fantastic.
How was your
I
day, Taylor?
oh, my day was good. The funny thing is that I had to speak to a group of people about resilience. And sometimes we have change that goes on in our lives, and
Mhm.
sometimes we have some bumps that goes on in our life, but we got to press forward. We got to go through those bumps.
We got to make
It's
it count.
100%. It's like a car, like how when you drive in and you go over a bump. I mean, what do? Don't you keep driving?
You don't stop driving just because it's a speed bump. Listen, you don't turn the car around and say, "Oh no, I'm not going this way today because it's another speed bump."
Absolutely.
You know?
Some people don't even deter. Sometimes there's things that's going on ahead of us, and we'll just wait in line.
Hmm.
And that's not always a bad thing.
No, it's not.
But the thing is, you can't run from it because it's still there. And so we got to go
It's a
forward.
part of that process.
Absolutely.
A part of the process. So Taylor, listen, we got an interesting conversation tonight.
Yes.
And I was sitting there, I was thinking, and I was like, mm, I don't know, Taylor. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is relationships, I'm texting my peoples to get them on and to come hang out with us tonight as well. But what I do know, the one thing that I do know that is relationships never ever have to be hard. They never
One
have to be challenging, they never have to be difficult. People create those type of environments in their relational experience. Definitely does not have to be that way. So
one thousand.
we're gonna talk about that tonight. We're gonna talk about that tonight. Why is it, Taylor? Why is it that we move the way we move? So let me pull up the topic for tonight because I want to make sure we stay on task because I get
You
distracted.
no, you get excited. Let's say we
Thank
just
you.
get
I get
excited.
ecstatic about the situation and then I get totally, totally off to the left because I be so excited. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna reel it back in. This is what we're gonna be talking about tonight, guys. How much are you willing to give to make a relationship work? First of all, a relationship is about giving. That's the first thing.
Absolutely.
Now, to what extent remains to be seen. But I have some pointers for us to look into and consider, Taylor.
Okay.
And
I'm
we're gonna
listening.
we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna do it formally and informally. But I'm gonna pull up the points and we're gonna go by those points. And we're gonna talk about this tonight. Because at the end of the day, all of us, all normal, high functioning, healthy, socially engaged, and connected humanoids want to be loved and they
Absolutely.
want to give love and they want to experience love. Now, what all they're willing to do to make that thing happen
Hmm.
is a different subject. For real, for real. So, one of the parts that I pulled up 7 things
Mm.
that would be ways to basically show that you're willing to be engaged in a relationship, first and foremost. And secondly, ways to determine that a person says, you know what, this is what I'm willing to do all of this to add value to you. So the first thing that I think is like one of the biggest things ever, and this is just my personal opinion, but I believe that if somebody doesn't give you time, then they're not willing to be in a relationship. Time is the most valuable commodity that we all have as humanoids. And if somebody says, "Hey, I want to be a part of your life. I want you to be my person. I want to get to know you, connect with you, take full advantage of the opportunity to really engage with you." You're going to have to give some time up, buddy. That
Absolutely.
is what will really determine that. Is that true or not, Taylor?
No, 100%. I think that we all know that the things that we give our time to is the things that we care about. The things that we love. Some people, I'm just using this as an example. Some people, some guys, and women love to play video games. Now, I know that we're adults here, what have you, but I like video games. And sometimes we get carried away in giving the video game too much time and neglecting from spending time with our significant other, our spouse, um, or sometimes our friends and family. And so I believe wherever you're spending your time is really where your heart is, where your passion is, the things that draws you to it, that you can't wait to get to it. And so you might see some people, I'm glad we having this conversation, that do that for each other. I can't wait to get off from work to get home to my wife or to my husband or to my boyfriend or to my partner, right? And so these are the areas that we really desire and spend that time. And not only that, we make sacrifice. Some
Yeah,
people, some people sacrifice finances to buy that video game because those
true.
video games do cost over $100 now.
Yeah, they
So,
expensive. They're very expensive. Like, yeah, you talk about if you're dealing with somebody that's a gamer,
oh,
they are investing some serious money to enjoy gaming. Gaming it's not an inexpensive venture at all. Gaming is gonna cost you for sure. For sure.
absolutely. So I totally agree with your statement, as far as, spending time with the individual and where your time is being spent. And if they don't have the time for you, sorry to say this, you know how the saying is?
Don't say it,
The-
Taylor. Don't say it, Taylor. Don't do it. We're live. We're international airways. Don't say it. Don't do it.
and let me say this, and let me say this disclaimer, right? If your job is pulling you away from spending time, that's one thing, right? I mean,
Right.
you have to have a balance, right? If he's taking care of the family, if he's taking you on trips and doing things, right, or supporting your dreams, I mean, we need money. Let's just call it
Right.
what it is, right? And
Right.
so maybe down the line, some things can change, but you can't scold the person because they're bringing home the bacon, right? Or bringing home the bag, or whatever the term is now, right? And so
Mhm.
we have to be very careful of picking and choosing, um, what we feel that needs to be erased because you're not spending enough time with me. That's great. That's great. We can get another job, but maybe traveling is cut out of the picture, right?
Mhm.
So we just gotta be very careful.
Okay, so you already see you were ahead of me.
Ah,
We might be on the same wavelength tonight or something, or having some extra sensory perception because you mentioned the next thing that I was going to talk about is money.
mm,
Money. If you're all in, if you're committed, if you are totally engrossed in a relationship, there is going to be some money involved. Now, I got some notes. All right. Money is like the biggest issue that relationships suffer with, especially long-term committed ones. Not necessarily the ones where you're dating and I'm getting to know you, you getting to know me, that kind of concept. Not necessarily those partnerships, but when it gets to a more serious nature and a much more serious journey between the two individuals, it seems that money can be a major challenge. Now, what's so interesting about this is every single day we use money for something. Why is it such a big deal in relationships? It's got to be used every single day. If you leave your house and you go anywhere, it took you some money to go wherever you're going. You might say, "Well, I didn't spend no money today." Well, your gas tank went down some. So
Yes.
there's money spent with that. Now, whether you do anything else, if you got in your vehicle and you drove anywhere, your gas tank went down, you spent money today. If nothing else, you spent money on gas.
Yes.
So why in the world is that such a big issue if it's a normal thing that happens every single day? It matter of fact, let's see, not even put the car in the equation. You turn the lights on when you got out of bed, you spend money.
Jesus.
You had your phone on the charger during the night, making sure your phone charged, you spent money. Electricity isn't cost money. You had the air or the heat on or something to keep your body temperature the way that you want to feel while you're resting so you can have a great night's rest. You spent some money.
Right.
Why is it such a problem when it comes to relationships? When what is the big nuance? What's the big issue when it's something that happens every day?
Right. I think that first of all, when it comes to relationships, I think a lot of relationships don't even sit down and put a plan together. Right. You might think, oh, Taylor, you're talking about plan, goals, yada yada yada. That's not how it works. Well, that's not how it works. That's why it ain't working. Right. And so you need to sit down and put a plan together. Remember, it's not just you anymore, right? You're joining another person, and so their expenditures might be different than yours, right?
Right, right.
And so somebody have to be a good steward when it comes to money, right? And so when you have a plan together and you hold each other accountable to say, hey, we're going to take care of the bills,
Mhm,
as we need to focus on that first,
mhm.
and then whatever is left, whether it's emergency account, you have your money for your hair and your nails, and he has his money for his haircut and maybe a video game or some Jordans or what have you, right? I'm just using these for example. Then you guys are on the same page. But i
Right.
i think the thing is that conversation don't happen.
Mm.
And when the conversation do happen, there's no plan. Okay, P Coffee, you make six figures and I make six figures, great, and we just join together and we just live our life. Well, you're spending money on your Louis Vuitton and your red bottoms and what have you, and I'm spending my money on hanging out with the fellas and what have you. And there's just there's no plan, there's no goal, there's no direction, there's nothing that's being talked about in the household. You have your money, I have my money, and we're doing what we do. And it's chaos.
Mhm.
And then when an emergency happens and it's time to say, hey, I know he making this amount of money, he should have some money, and you find out that there's no money, or she should have some money, then the issue happens, right? Then the conversation happens. Or when you want to go on a trip and he tell you he can't because we don't have the money. Well, how we don't have the money, right? Well, because you guys never had a conversation. You guys never was honest and forthcoming to put it on the table. And I know when it comes to money, people is like, well, you don't need to know how much I make. I don't need to know how much I make. That's fine if you want to live that way, but trust and believe when the time comes to show the receipts. I love to use that word because you know what they say. Jay-Z said numbers don't lie. Well, receipts don't lie either.
That's the
Okay.
number.
And that's the number. So when it comes time to put your receipt and the other person receipt and it ain't matching, or there's a negative next to it, then that's where
Mhm.
the problem is.
Well, you know what? And I'm sitting here thinking about as we're, pulling out these points to answer the question, how much are you willing to give in a relationship? I'm sitting here thinking about this because, you know, it is difficult for some people to consider the whole concept of put every all the money in one bucket, if you will,
Yeah.
and then disperse from the bucket where the disbursements need to go, right?
Mhm.
So it is a lot of conflict when it comes to money. So it's like when you think about how much you're willing to give, are you willing to totally give your person access to all of the financial information, all of the tangible resources that you have access to, are you willing to do that? And honestly, I don't think a lot of people really are willing to do that. First of all, because I don't see where we see this as much as we need to relationally, and it's not really taught as much as it could be taught when it comes to relationships. And then, too, a lot of times I think that with the concept of, maybe him being the provider or whatever the case might be, that people still think that they don't need to have access. Oh, no, he takes care of all the stuff. Well, that's cute and wonderful until the day when he doesn't. Then what? So it's like how much are you willing to give? Are you really really willing to trust
Yeah.
that you're in partnership with a solid individual? Did you really make a good choice? We're gonna have to talk about that. How do I really vet? What is vetting? How do we need to do that one too? Ooh, that'd be a good one. How do I really vet to identify, is this person a good fit for me? So that money situation, Lisa says, this world has made us to always have our own backs. Right. And that's not good when it comes to relationships. When you think about it from that perspective, to say, oh, I got my own back, that's dangerous when it comes to a relationship, because at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's about us. It's the we. It's no more I. It's not an individual journey anymore. If it's two people involved, there's no individual journey in that regard when it comes to the relationship. Of course, you got individual goals, individual aspirations, individual things that you love to do, individual places that you like to frequent, whatever the case might be. But when it comes to the bigger picture from the relationship perspective, it's going to be uno, dos, dos. It's going to be two people involved. So let's go to the next thing. Now we talked about that money. Oh, it's a hard one, Taylor.
Huh.
This is a hard one. You ready for this one, Taylor?
I am ready.
Being self-centered,
Hmm.
and taking all of your thoughts and your time and your needs and your wants and your aspirations, and not recalling that you decided to make a partnership with another person.
Mhm.
Being totally engrossed in oneself.
Yeah, some people are in a relationship and they're still single, and it's really, it's really, it's really,
So true though. It's so true.
it's very interesting. And I don't even think they're. I-
Go ahead and say it, Taylor, because
No,
you may as well go ahead and say it. Because whenever you start laughing like that,
you
it's
know.
something you want to say. So go ahead and
See,
say it,
know
Taylor.
me. You know me too well. I
I
just
do.
think some people
I
are
do. Go ahead and
delusional.
say it.
Now, I was gonna say I think people are just living a delusional fantasy, and I think that people are focused on the contract instead of the relationship. And when it comes to a contract with an individual, and let me not go to marriage, let me just stay on the relationship part, dating and being with somebody. I mean, we're not saying put money together and joint accounts and what have you when you're vetting the person, when you're dating, you going on dates, whatever, right?
Right.
But I think once you get married to the individual, it's two people. So me have to be we.
Hmm.
So you got to start speaking French and change that English, right? uh,
Oui,
be-
oui. Bon, oui. Merci beaucoup.
because certain things we have to be, you have to be considerate. It's not even, it's so funny because we're considerate with our bosses. All right, we
Mhm.
make sure that we are at work on time, for
Period.
those that go to work on
Matter of
time.
fact, some of us make sure that we're there significantly early.
100%, right? But when your husband or your wife or your significant other invite you out somewhere, you're always late. Now, that is another conversation, but we're not going to go there. Because
We're
it's
not gonna call y'all out right now, but go ahead, Taylor.
no, well, because it's about you and not about we, right? You have no
Right.
respect for the person that you're with, but you have respect for an entity that's paying you money. So I my personal opinion, and I think the statistics can speak for itself, is that when two people come together, hmm,
Mhm.
it's not just about you anymore, it's about us.
It's the we again.
Is we, and that word compromise have to play a strong factor. One thing that I will say is that when it comes to sacrifice, and I use it in a different term, some people sacrifice, and that's fine. And I think that's the topic of the show,
Mhm.
and that's fine. But when you add compromise, I believe two people can walk away from the table feeling good. Let me say that again.
So that's taking so you're taking out the self-centered aspect to
Bingo.
reflect a union as it's supposed
100%.
to reflect.
A part of me and a part of you came to an agreement
Mhm.
to move forward.
Period.
Period.
I love it. So this is another one.
I'm ready.
What if you're dealing with somebody who feels like they always have to be right? They just cannot concede. Every
Yep.
time there's some kind of conflict, some kind of challenge, and you're thinking to yourself, what are you willing to do to make this work? And they're like, well, I'm right still, even if it does cause us, cause calamity and chaos and confusion. I'm still right.
Mm,
What about that one, Taylor? That's different from self-centeredness.
no,
Self-centeredness is a whole different animal in comparison to somebody who just has that issue with I got to be right
yeah,
all the time.
yeah,
There is no middle ground. I'm right, period.
yeah. So self-centered. It's something that can be changed um, from the individual. I'm always
Mhm.
right mentality have to be helped. What I mean by that is you have to seek professional help, because that stems from not being seen growing up. That stems from not being heard growing up. And
Mhm.
so they have to make it known to everyone that what I said is correct, um, and what you said is not correct.
Mhm.
And so that in itself is a big issue. It is a big issue because here's a little secret. Not only that they have to be right with you, they have to be right with their mama, they have to be right at their job, they have to be right with their children. It doesn't end. And it's coming from a deeper place in their life where, like I said, usually it's the last child in the family.
Mhm.
Or it's usually something where their mother didn't give them enough attention, and so now they're acting it out. And
Something's missing. Something
a
was missing.
100%. And so that has to be dealt with, like I said, with professional help.
And what about this one? What are you willing to give? What about privacy? What if you're dealing with somebody who feels like they gotta post everything on social media? Every time you turn around, Taylor, you walk in the room and you looking at me like, why is it every time we go somewhere, all your girlfriends look at me side-eyed? What are you telling them?
Well, first of all, I've met some people that they want you to use the bathroom with the door open. Now, look, I'm gonna make a bold statement. Okay, any person that I can't use
Use the
the
bathroom with the door open, Taylor?
there are some people that says there's no secrets, there's no privacy. We're together. You should be able to use the bathroom while I'm taking a shower. You should be able to use the bathroom while you're in the house and the door's open so I could come and talk to you and what have you. Look,
Oh no, thanks. No thanks.
thank you. I'm gonna run as far as I can. I'm just not. I'm not. If I'm going to the bathroom, I want the bathroom door closed. We can carry on our conversation after. I use the bathroom, but when it comes to the privacy issue, which destroys a lot of relationships, because either the person feels that, well, my phone is up and open, and the other person phone has a lock on it, right? I think that's a conversation to have. Here's my personal opinion, right? When it comes to phones, since we're talking about privacy, I'm going to just use the
Mhm.
phone as an example. This is just me. I believe that numbers should be changed. That's my personal opinion. Now, people are going to disagree with me, and some people just love to
Wait a
hold
minute,
on.
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Go back.
Yep.
You said, say it again.
I said when two people enter into a relationship, I personally will advise for you guys to change your phone numbers.
For
Now,
every relationship?
well,
That's a lot of phone changing.
I mean, if you're just dating just to see, because some people is in relationships and they know that they're not going to end up with the person, then that's fine, right? But if
Mhm,
you really, really is serious about this individual, like you guys have I call it a end goal,
uh,
meaning to get to the altar, right? To exchange rings, like you guys are, probably some people are living together, right? Let's just call it
mhm,
what it is. This is what's
mhm,
going on out there, right?
mhm,
I think that if you're in a committed relationship, serious
mhm.
committed relationship where you guys are sharing things,
Okay.
cars,
Space,
assets, whatever, right?
right?
Um,
Uh-huh.
I personally believe that this device right here is one of the most um, things that gets relationships in trouble. Now, I'm not talking about just the phone calls. I'm talking the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikToks. You're on your phone too much. Somebody out of the blue, and this is where what happens. Somebody out of the blue. You know how it goes, P Coffee, where you're in a relationship that is
Okay.
amazing. It's amazing, and all of a sudden, everybody out of the woodwork is knocking on your door now. When you were single, no one called your phone. Now, some people might, like I said, I don't need to change my number. I could just tell them, hey, don't call my phone. I'm in a relationship, whatever. The
Right.
reason why changing your number is so significant in this situation is because you both start with a clean slate. So if
But
anybody
if you
call,
but if you change your number though,
mm-hmm.
that still isn't going to change all the communication from other sources like social media that you mentioned.
No, 100%,
So
100%. But it's the unwanted phone calls. It's the phone calls that can start a argument in the household.
mhm,
Now, if y'all both have new phones, as you can see, I have multiple phones. But if y'all both,
obviously.
I have multiple phones because I don't give my phones back to the stores. I keep my phones. But if you have
Okay.
multiple phones, excuse me, if you have two phones, you got me off track. If you have two phones, with two individuals, you start
Okay.
at a clean slate. So any girl or any dude randomly calling your phone is somebody that you newly met. I ain't even gonna go there.
I mean, there's no argument with that. There is no argument with that. So, how do you address the social media element then? If I get a new phone,
Yeah.
but I'm still in contact with old people on social media, how is that changing anything?
Yeah. So the contact with social media, I mean, it shouldn't be something that you're hiding anyway. It shouldn't be some, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, you're not gonna open your password just to let somebody go through all your messenger and stuff like that. I mean, I just think that if you're at a
That
stage,
would be toxic, like
yeah,
for real.
if you have a state, yeah, I'm saying if you're at a stage like that in your relationship, then you guys have a bigger issue. It's beyond that, and there's trust factors that you have to play involved, and maybe you guys need to seek some counseling and some help and have an open conversation, right? But but yeah, people can call you on Messenger and what have you. I get that.
Mhm.
But we all know that anybody can call you on Messenger,
True.
right? Not anybody
Can call your
really
personal
is
phone.
gonna call you your personal phone. And
Mhm.
that's where the issue is, because then girlfriends get to calling girlfriends, and then it's like, oh, he took you here. Oh, really? You see what I'm saying? So we can eliminate that factor when it comes to the phones. And then guess what? Guess what? Guess what? If I got a new number, I'm gonna give my number to the people that I know is not gonna be a threat to my relationship. So if my phone ring, I don't have no worries. Hey babe, who's that? Oh, that's Tanisha. I don't know, your colleague at work. I'm just using that as an example. Now, Tanisha
Yeah.
is a side
Yeah.
chick, I get it, but we're not. But it just eliminates certain things. You start from a fresh slate, a fresh slate.
Why can't we just be honest and forthright instead of going through all that? Because hypothetically, if you were and I were in a relationship and you said, okay, Coffee, how much are you willing to give? And then you say to me, I want you to, I want you to change your number. And I'm gonna look at you side eye because I'm gonna say, I do business on my phone.
True.
My whole family lives in a different state. I'm not gonna try to figure out how to get my new number to all those people. That's a headache to do that. So I would tell you, like, dude, either you're gonna trust me or you're gonna trust me. If you're not gonna do either of those, then we don't need to be together. Let's make it easier.
I think that in that situation, it, it just depends on the sacrifice you're willing to make. Because if this guy's amazing, I'm just using what you just said as example. If
It's
this
me and you. It's me and you. The guy
Okay,
is amazing. So
so
yeah.
then so then yeah, so then if I'm amazing
Uh-huh.
and this is something that I would like you to do, here comes the compromise. Where can we meet in the middle?
Well, if there's no problem, then we don't need to create one.
True.
So if there is no problem, we don't have
True.
any issues. My phone is not turned down and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not, with my head all stretched over the side of the bed trying to see who called it. Like, oh, I heard his phone buzzing. I mean, I'm not cracking up thinking, trying to figure out. Then if it's not a problem, then I don't think we should worry about it. But
No,
I get what you're saying because you're right. In some instances, people do have to have a fresh slate, especially if there's somebody um, who has had a significant amount of partnerships or people that they were dating or whatever. Because you're right, people will contact you randomly out of the blue that you haven't heard from in 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, 10 years, 5 years. They will show up randomly, and you're right, it's almost like the universe sends out a universal text message to everybody subliminally and says, hey, Taylor and Coffee are in a relationship, and they're in a good relationship. So why don't we go in there and just interject and cause some waves in their relationship because they just doing way too good. Okay. So you're right in that regard. But I do think that us as adults, high functioning, having a solid moral compass and understanding, what we really want to see happen in our relationship, I think we can come to the conclusion that I'm going to be honest with you and you're going to be honest with me. Now, even if you did change the phone, right? Even if you did change the phone number, now you already know how humanoids are. They going to keep that old phone. And then next thing you know, they're gonna be looking up Jackie's number in the old phone to call her from the new phone because old girl was like, I want you to change your number. He'd be like, yeah, okay, I ain't got no problem with changing my number, but you're not gonna get rid of the old contacts. So I think it's an integrity issue when it comes to something like that. The person has got to be willing to be integral. If they're willing to be integral, then if that's the type of person that they are, then you can expect them to do exactly what it is they say they're going to do. But then there's another concept of thinking, because I do this all the time and I'm very guilty of it. I keep my phone on do not disturb a lot of the time. So if somebody is with me, they're gonna be looking at me side-eyed anyway, like, why in the heck Are we sitting at home and we're not out in the street, we're not doing anything, and your freaking phone is on do not disturb? What the heck is that about? Now, that would raise some bars for some people, and my response to that would be, dude, I'm not going to listen to no notifications clicking on my cell phone. And,
Ev-
with these smartphones, you already know what happens with that. All them freaking notifications going to be, then it's going to be another question. Why in the heck is that all that buzzing going on your watch? You know what I'm saying? It's going to be like a ripple effect of questions, right? I'll be like, dude, Taylor, listen, you doing too much, dude. You're doing way too much. You want to hold on to the phone for the day? Take it. Help yourself. Have at it. If this is gonna make you feel better, just take the freaking phone and have at it. You know, I think if you with somebody like that and they just tell you, hey, take the phone. I did that with somebody. They was like, would you be willing to give me your phone for a day? I said, dude, take it. Hell yeah, take the dang phone. I ain't gonna die from not having the phone for a day. He was
yeah,
like, well, what if somebody texts you or call you? Well, don't answer it. It ain't for you. That's all I can tell you. But if you feel like you got to take the phone for a
yeah,
day and it makes you more comfortable, but if it's at that point, that's an insecurity issue that
yes.
is not my problem. And I'm gonna be looking at you side eye like that next, because I'm gonna be like, dude, if you feel like you got to take my phone to make you feel okay, then we need to go get you some help that's bigger than you and I, because this is you need some help in another way. Now you got some insecurity issues that now you're trying to force upon me, and I don't want to have anything to do with that. That's another thing. How much are you willing to give? Are you willing to give up that part of yourself where it's that line that was drawn in the sand? You're letting that person cross over it. That's not a good way. That's not something good to consider giving up, because you got to have a line drawn in the sand in any relationship. I don't care if you're married or not. It's certain things that are just like, okay, you've gone too far. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
how much am I gonna have to contend with you dealing with your own personal insecurities? That's not my problem. And you shouldn't feel like, or attempting to make somebody pay for something that they didn't make an investment in the first place. This ain't my debt. This is your debt. This don't have nothing to do with me. It's like me coming into a marriage with you with $200,000 in student loans and then expecting you to help me pay them. Negative, Nancy. Those student loans came with you, so you and that package are gonna have to deal with that packaging even while we're married, because that's not something that I'm responsible for. I'm responsible for this other stuff, yes, because I done bought us this big old house and I told you I was gonna do this and that and the third. Yeah, I'm responsible for that. But the stuff you brought in with you, you're responsible for taking care of that. Your insecurities, your proclivities, all your little stuff that you got going on, the preconceived notions you got in your brain and all that, that's your stuff you got to deal with.
I love it. You're on a roll.
It's true.
It's true.
It's
No,
true. It's
no,
like how much are you supposed to really take on
true.
in a relationship? Let's be real. You know, I get what you're saying about changing the phone, but if I change my phone,
Yeah.
it's gonna be something else more than that.
No, 100%. No, I think that um, at at the end of the day, is whatever works for you, right? Is whatever works for your relationship. But yes, it was, for me, like I said, to start a fresh slate, great, what have you. Yes, they have social media, they have Facebook, they have all this stuff. And as far as people like you, people like myself, that we make posts on social media, and there's people that we have followers. I'm sure that we have admirers. I'm sure that we have people that's obsessed, that can't wait until you post a picture so they can have googly eyes and do whatever and
It
post.
happens every day. That's why I don't post as many pictures no more.
So, to say this, that person have to be able to handle that. Like, so people that is in the limelight, or is always on social media doing the work, have to have a certain caliber of person that they're with, right? An insecure person will never work. Like, I could,
No, it wouldn't.
it
And
just,
then you know what, Taylor, it's people who will masquerade like they don't have insecurity issues, and they will
yeah,
masterfully do it for I've seen it upwards of like 2 years,
yeah.
where they will put on this facade to really gain access to that person. But the minute when that deal is sealed, and their real personality shows up, it's like this disgusting. Like, are you kidding me? You've been faking it all this time. You took 2 whole years. You went to some kind of fake school. They got clown schools for this or something. Cause you straight clowning.
You know what's so funny? A individual that I was talking to briefly told me that, you know, and it's it's hard to compete with your followers, or
Why would you want to? These ain't real people. These people don't live with me.
well,
They don't know me. They ain't never been to my house. They don't know nothing. They know what they see of the same thing you saw on social media that got your attention, the same thing getting their attention.
100%. But here's the thing. First of all, I don't know how you competing because I never talked about my social media with you.
And
we
it's not a
we
conversation for us to have. It ain't that freaking serious.
we have never had a conversation. I've never said I'm gonna make a post. I've never brought it. But you see, here's it. You went on my social media, saw the attention, and feel that you're in competition. It's all in you.
It's in your head. It's all in your head and it's not real.
Needless to
You
say,
know,
see ya.
it's like, like it's just it's so much stuff. It's so many things that when you talk about this picture to say how much are you willing to give to make a relationship work?
Absolutely.
You got to really sit down and think about that because you got to really think about how much am I really willing to invest
Yeah.
to be in a relationship with another human? How much am I willing to deviate from whatever it is that I'm normally doing, wherever it is I normally go, whoever I normally connect with, whatever it is I'm normally doing, how much of that am I willing to give up to build something with another human? That is a heavy question to consider.
It
For
is.
real, for real. It's a
First,
real heavy question to consider.
you gotta be able to trust the person, and that's the number one factor, right? Because remember, if you're coming together, if you're sharing anything, it doesn't have to be money. It could be a house, it could be an apartment, it could be your
True,
car, right?
true.
Yeah, based on your experiences in the past, maybe you have, done that and got robbed, from the other person or what have you. So now you're guarded going into a relationship. And you don't want to make that same mistake again, right? And sometimes, trying to enter into that relationship with that mindset, it can't work. It cannot work because you're going into that relationship with you, only
Mhm.
you. Remember, you're guarded, so it's only you, right?
Right.
And so there's nothing else you trust. And my thing is this: why you even want to get into a relationship being that way anyway? That doesn't make any sense.
And two, another thing to consider that I think people don't really attraction is such a interesting thing because it can be a double-edged sword for real. When you really think about it, people don't really contemplate heavy enough about these personality types.
Mm,
Because another big reason why people respond the way they do is because it's an actual part of their personality. This is really part of what's ingrained internally inside of them.
mm.
It's not gonna be no changing.
Oh.
That's not gonna change. Like I remember when we were growing up, I have 7 brothers and sisters, right?
Mhm.
And I can remember when we were children, my mother used to say, she would say this, and I would think she was really tripping, right? But she would say, some of this I overlook because it's literally an innate part of who you are. And I'd be like, well, how do you know that? She was like, personalities develop with time. And once they develop, this is what that person is going to be like. This is how they are. And she used to just look at certain ones of us where she would overlook something for one, she wouldn't overlook it for another because it wasn't in their personality. It was just a learned behavior for that moment. But she knew the difference between the personality versus a learned behavior. And I would just look at her like, how does she know this? But then when I had my own children, and you can say this as a parent too, you see it. Certain stuff you just be like, "Mm, I'm not even gonna waste my time."
Exactly.
And I think if we looked at relationships like that from the outside, not once we get all enthroned and engrossed inside of something with a person, but if we look at it from the outside, like from that perspective, just kind of looking at that person overall, we will realize that this goes for platonic relationships too, because sometimes we think that a person is a good fit for us, but then as we journey through that process with that person, we say, nah, this ain't gonna be good for me because this person really they don't really dig me like you know what I'm saying? They don't dig me like that. And there's no need of me trying to force an issue. And I think when people sit down and they really, really think about it, and you really sit down and you kind of weigh that whole thing out, you'll find that this is not your person anyway.
Well, I'm glad you say that because guess what? COVID did that for a lot of relationships.
Dude, listen, COVID was like, dude, COVID really shed some light on stuff that would have been gone on in darkness for years down the road.
Yep.
Just would have been in the abyss for a long time. And the scary part about that whole onset of COVID was what we found out was that people literally were not spending time together. They were doing everything but that. Like, it was crazy. I was coaching this one guy, and he said, "Do you realize?" He said, "I didn't realize until COVID that I really didn't even know my wife because between work, he's a coach, so he was like between work, coaching, different kind of other stuff that he did on a continuous basis all the time, right?" He
Mm.
said, "I didn't even realize until now that I didn't even know this chick I was married to because I hadn't spent that kind of time with her."
Mm.
And I said, "You're not alone, dude, because it's a whole lot of people." And people had come, even the ones that had spent time with their person, they didn't like the person. So they found all these other outlets and activities to keep them apart.
That's crazy.
So by the time I get home, I ain't got to do nothing but hop in the shower and crawl up in the bed and hit it again tomorrow and be excited about not being in the house. What in the world?
Wow.
But again, it goes back to the whole concept of what are you willing to do to make this work? Well, I'm not spending those. That's what I feel like I need to do to make it work. What? Not be here? Yeah, that's what I feel like I need to do. Not be here. And I'm telling you, somebody felt like that. That's what they needed to do to make it work. Not be there.
That is bizarre. It is
But it's true.
it's true.
It's very factual.
No, 100%. A matter of fact, it's so factual. We could go a step further. You know those sneaky links? Those sneaky links never even existed during COVID because guess what? Where are you going? You can't go nowhere. We on
It wasn't no
lockdown.
such thing as sneaky link, little link, big link, thick links, slim links. Nobody links. Everybody was linked at the house
Exactly.
with whoever you had to be forced to be in that same space with is where
Yep.
you was at during
Even some
COVID.
people, P Coffee, even some people didn't even know who their kids were. And
Listen,
what made
that was a huge one for some people. They listen, when COVID hit, my oldest and my youngest was here, and my oldest and my youngest and my middle daughter was living in Florida, right?
yeah,
And it was so crazy because I remember my son was in his room one day, and I said, "Thank goodness that I invested a lot of time in getting to know y'all, because this right here would have drove somebody crazy." And the parents that, and it's not good, bad, or indifferent, but some parents, I'm gonna tell you how crazy it is. I literally see students. I get to school between 6:20 and 6:30 in the morning, right? Now, students aren't even allowed in the building until 6:45. Do you know that there are students standing outside of the school waiting till we pull up to let them into the school? And I just look at them like, "Why you here so early?"
yeah.
"Oh, my mom had to go to work." "So your mama gonna be home when you get home?" "No, ma'am."
Wow.
No time investment whatsoever. That's why time was the number one thing
Yeah.
tonight. It's extremely important.
Yeah.
In relationships, you have got to give that person time.
Yeah.
Time is the only commodity that is has priceless value. That's it.
Yeah.
If you give them, I mean, it's like me and you all here tonight. You every week we give each other an hour of time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just even in doing this show, it's like you think about how much time it's going to take to not only build a relationship, but to cultivate, develop, and retain it. That's going to take a sacrifice of time.
That is. Because after when all the fluffiness and googly eyes and all that stuff, and you really get a chance to know that individual, whew, is this something that you want to invest in for the rest of your life? Invest, invest, invest
And
in.
it's an ongoing investment. It's not an investment to where, okay, I'm putting it in the pot right now and I don't have to go back and restock the pot. No, the pot is going to be restocked a lot. You're going to have to constantly go back in there and restock that pot. And, like you said, is it really something that you really want to do? How much are you really really willing to give to make this thing work?
Mm,
And you know what, Taylor? If people would sit down and they would really weigh it and they would be very, very honest, a lot of people would not pursue specific relationships.
true.
You know what I'm saying? Even though it looks really good superficially and on the outside, but when they start digging in the trenches and getting deep, somebody gonna be hurt,
It's true.
dude.
And it's a real, it's a deep conversation.
It is. It really is.
It's, and I mean, we can go all the way back to just meeting somebody, the vet to vet. Sometimes we vet like in 3 days. Oh,
Ain't no
this,
such thing. That's impossible.
hey, this is a nice person. We went out on 3 dates. Yeah, uh-huh. And all of a sudden now you guys are together.
No, negative.
you know and then one thing transpired to the next, and things happen, and you didn't know that the person don't really like to be home.
And dig this, and it's funny because you got some people who like their space in their
Yep.
home environment. It's other people that really that's not their thing to be at home. Or you got some people who love to entertain. Like I got a friend of mine, dude. When I tell you they entertain all the time, I would be going bananas.
Yeah.
Why all these people in the house all the
Yeah.
freak I would freak out, dude. So I could never be with somebody who feels like they gotta entertain all the time. It would drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Dude,
No.
I don't have a problem with entertaining, quarterly maybe. But you talking about every month somebody over here? Oh no, sir. Uh-uh.
Yeah. And then if we take it a step further, what about the people that's been single for a while, and then they realize, hey, you know what, I'm lonely, I want to be with somebody, and they enter into a relationship, and guess what, they love their space, they love their routine, and now all those things have to change. Not saying that you have to change who you are,
Right. But you do
but
have to adjust if you want another person in your life.
exactly, and some people is just not willing to make that sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. It's a lot to think about. So we hope that this show gave you something to think about for you guys that are contemplating a commitment and the desire to be with somebody else. What are you really willing to give, and what is that going to translate into, and how will it look for both you and that individual? So that's just some things for you guys to think about. So Coach Taylor and Coach Coffee, just wanted to give you something to think about. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, I want to say this one thing. some of us do need that person. That might be a steward in saving, because we are just all over the place. And we might think that, well, this person is coming in the relationship telling me what to do. No, you need to be told what to do, because your spending is out of control. And that's
I
why
agree.
you don't have no money. And this person is trying to save and trying to come up with a plan. And you know what I'm saying? Like,
I agree.
we have to look at it from every angle, right? Oh, this person is not a match for me. Why? Because the person is holding you accountable.
And you know what? And I love that because that's a very true statement. Somebody comes into your life and they got, I mean, Yahweh literally sent that person into your life like air express mail saying, "Hey, here's your person. You're not going to be comfortable, but this person is who I designed and created just for you to help balance, some areas in your life where you needed to have a level of healthiness that doesn't currently exist. So this person, this is who I sent for you to get that healthy element. It's yeah, you're right about that. That's good, Taylor.
Yeah, and you know what's so
That's very true.
crazy about this whole conversation that we have, and in this example, is because a lot of times that person have been praying for this. I am praying for wealth. I am praying for wealth. And then when God sends the person in your life to give you structure and to
Mhm,
create a plan to save money and not to spend going out to eating at these expensive restaurants,
mhm.
but we need to save. Now all of a sudden you got a problem.
That's true. Well, that's the word tonight. Okay, we're gonna take up the offering. Send y'all home. That was good. Well, Taylor, as always, it's always such an amazing opportunity to
Uh,
have you on co-hosting with me. I
uh,
truly, truly honor and appreciate and respect you. And I'm super duper grateful for you. You're
uh-huh.
so freaking phenomenal. So thank you for that. And
Thank
to
you.
everybody watching the show, thank you for being here with us and tuning in, tapping in. Make
Yes.
sure you connect with Taylor and myself. We got some new things on the horizon that we do not want you to miss. So definitely connect and stay plugged in with us as we do what we can to add value in the relational space.
Yes.
So with that being said, Taylor, I'm signing off for tonight, hon.
Awesome. It was a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely having this conversation, and
Always.
hopefully we shed some light in some people's areas in their lives.
I hope so. I definitely hope so. Well, until next week, same bat time, same bat channel. I am your hostess with the Moses P. Coffee Brown, and we're here with our co-host Taylor Made Speaks, and we will see you guys on the next edition of the Hot Seat. Good night, God bless, and you guys have a great evening. And do something amazing tomorrow. Be kind, be generous, and show somebody some love tomorrow. Good
I
night.